Hello there. What is going on, everybody? Adepticon is canceled. You may have heard the news last night. They pushed this out on social media, and it was kind of one of the standard. We regret to inform you that due to careful concerns and it's in the best interests of public safety and all of that, and that makes sense. I think the COVID-19 coronavirus is very, very serious. Oh, my camera's starting to fall here. Let me adjust a little bit. There we go. But yeah, it's a very serious thing going on right now, and I think a lot of people might not really understand how serious, or but it's a global pandemic right now, and it makes sense. It's everybody's doing it. It really all happened yesterday, with like the NBA deciding they were going to suspend the season. Then like almost all the major sporting leagues kind of followed in suit, and then I think it kind of hit a crescendo when the theme parks, especially Disney, announced they were closing their parks, which is a really big deal when Disney says, okay, we're not going to we're going to turn your money away. We're not going to take your money. For Disney to say we're not going to take your money is a really, really big deal. So yeah, that's basically what happened. And then at that point, it was like, there was no hope for Adepticon. So I think, as much as they said, we came to this decision or whatever, I wonder how much of it was really Adepticon's decision to go ahead and close it down versus how much was, kind of really beyond their control. A lot of people are kind of waiting for a statement for Fantasy Flight. I imagine they'll probably have something to say fairly soon, but right now, unless of course they're publishing it as I'm doing this video right now, or by the time you watch this video, they may already have had a statement come out. But it's okay to be disappointed right now. I think a lot of people are disappointed. A lot of people had travel plans. I wasn't actually scheduled to go to Adepticon this year, so I just couldn't make that work. So while it's not directly impacting me as much, it's certainly, I get the feeling, because I am currently scheduled to go to Gen Con this year. So it's definitely something I'm watching out for, because there's a lot of it touches all of us. There's a couple of pretty interesting implications from this. One of them is that Legion and Armada both have their world championships. There's a lot of games that have big tournaments. So there's a lot of big tournaments that now are canceled, and that's one of the big things that we're really worrying. Like all of those tournaments are done. So what, are they going to be rescheduled? Are they just going to not have? Are they just going to skip some of those tournaments? Like, that's a big question a lot of people have right now. I think there's a couple of different paths forward, so yeah, that's I guess we're going to talk about that. Also, if you're watching this video later, or if you're new here to the channel, if you have, I just want to let you guys know there is still time left for the latest giveaway. You just have to be a subscriber and leave a comment. It's as simple as that. Yeah, so basically we're going to talk a little bit about like the worlds for Legion and Armada. I think there's two paths forward. For one, you could just say, we're due to events beyond our control, we just have to not have Worlds this year. I don't know if that's what they'll do. Worlds is kind of a big deal. A lot of people really look forward to Worlds. I don't think that's the most advisable. I think the second course of action is to reschedule Worlds. Now, that's not an easy thing to do, but I think it's like cutting your losses, because people have to travel to these cons. Some people can get to cons easier than others. It's not easy for me to get to conventions. I live down in Florida, in Central Florida, and it's not really easy for me to get to a lot of these conventions. Most of them are out of driving range. There's so much that goes into a convention. Family planning, if I'm going to be away, like, do I have to, or you have to maybe get a pet sitter? Do you have to arrange, do you have to just coordinate certain things so that you can go, getting time off of work? airline tickets, which may or may not be refundable now. From what I understand, a lot of airlines are working with people to at least give them credit towards another flight for stuff like this. Airlines are also in kind of damage control mode right now too. Hotel, maybe you had a deposit down. Hopefully, granted, if you booked through the convention, hopefully you'll be able to get your deposit back, no problem. I think people are definitely trying to work with you. Plus, your convention dues, and who knows what other things you may have paid to do this. Maybe you bought special stuff. Maybe you bought a special carrying case for your army or whatever, just for this there's a lot of costs that kind of go into this. And a lot of expectation. Maybe, if I was going to a place and maybe I was planning on streaming from there, maybe I bought a whole bunch of special equipment. Now that's totally done. I know, there are a lot of products planning on being released at Adepticon that now can't be. I know the Fifth Trooper, for example, Legion podcast, and they had a bunch of new products that they were going to either ship or have for Adepticon delivery. A lot of, people probably bought a lot of that stuff or planning on picking it up at Adepticon. That's like, it just complicates a whole lot of things for a whole lot of people. So it's not as simple as just, we'll reschedule worlds. It's not like, because there's a lot of moving parts into all that. So rescheduling worlds isn't an easy thing to do. A lot of people may not be able to go. And so you may end up with a worlds that's only a fraction of the representation of people that may have otherwise, because some people plan all year to go to Worlds, and that's really a bummer. So, that's basically what I'm not sure what the path forward is going to be, but I think at least rescheduling Worlds is probably better than just canceling it altogether. Now, I can see that maybe somebody has a different, I went into the Legion Discord as soon as they announced that that Legion was canceled. I did claim the 2020 Legion World Championship. I claimed that title by calling dibs. I was the first one to call dibs on the title. So from my perspective right now, if they just cancel Worlds, I will maintain that I am the world champion. So that's cool. So nobody can really mess with me, you have to beat me to take it. You have to beat me to take it. No, that being lightheartedness aside, I think the wiser path forward is to reschedule Worlds, and same thing with Armada. Reschedule those. Now, the question then comes in: how do you reschedule Worlds with Adepticon being canceled? Do you have some event at the FFG headquarters? Do you, like they kind of do for other games Worlds? Do you have it in Minneapolis? They certainly can support stuff like that. It's not as central, however, as something like Chicago. Chicago is a lot more central. Or do you just leverage other conventions that are already happening? Gen Con is the next real big one that's coming to mind. That one certainly has the size and can support Worlds if you wanted Worlds to be there. I think to me, that seems like the most logical step, but it's not as clean or super easy. And I feel a sneeze coming on, and we're live, so I can't. Goodness gracious. Can't edit that out because we're doing it live. All right. But if you notice, I did one of these, right? Got to stay clean. I'll go out and wash my hands after this. Coronavirus, right? And I'm going to talk about that too. I'll talk about that after this. But look, Gen Con, I think, is basically, I think, the most likely place to do Worlds. You can have Armada Worlds, Legion Worlds. I am planning to go there, so I guess, thank you for all the blesses. Patient zero. No, I sneeze all the time. I have an itchy nose. You don't see me do it in my videos very much because I usually, get all my sneezes out of my system. But I just have an itchy nose. Too many nose hairs with all of this stuff. I think that's what it is. All of this tickles my nose. Years ago, those of you who have been following me for a long time, I used to, have a clean-shaven face years ago. And I didn't sneeze as much then, so I wonder if the two are related. For those of you with beards, does any of that, like the extra nostril hairs or something, make you... I guess I could get in there and do the nostril hairs a little bit more. This is not a grooming channel, however, so let's move on. So anyway, but no, Gen Con has its own set of tournaments though, and their own set of titles and prizes on the line. So I guess the question would be, if you reschedule Worlds for something like Gen Con, do you then at that point just wipe out like something's got to give, like some title has to go away, and I think what Gen Con is like Continental Championships or something like that. Well, I think the answer is clear. Like, it's better if you have to lose something. It's better to lose, you know, a sub title like a Continental Championship, rather, or North American Championship, or whatever they're calling it. It's better to lose the North American Championship and still have Worlds than lose Worlds. And what good is North American Championship if there's no World Champion, right? So, like, you gotta. I mean, they're different years, so it's yeah. But that's yeah. That's my basic thing. I think like rescheduling it works. There is other tournaments, and there's actually a really big Armada tournament. So for Armada Worlds, there's a big tournament coming up in Atlanta in May, which I don't know if that's going to even happen or not. May's, you know, a little farther out, so we'll have to see. But yeah, they're having a grand championship at Gigabytes, and I am planning to attend that. I've already, you know, bought my ticket. So, I mean, I'll be driving up for that one because that one's closer. And this is a really cool big deal for Armada because this is the first big Armada tournament I've been able to, will have been able to play in, which I'm kind of excited about that. I'm not sure because, you know, like if you follow a lot of my Armada builds and a lot of my Armada battle reports, sometimes I do serious builds, but a lot of times I do gimmick or janky builds. And hi everybody that's joining us live. I will probably get to some questions and we're going to talk a little bit more about this soon. But I just wanted to thank you guys for all hanging out. And I will definitely try to get to some questions. But yeah, so there's a big Armada tournament coming up. I mean, like that one could potentially work too. I don't know if they're big enough to host Worlds or something like that. But you know, there's just, you know, there's a lot of tournaments that all have different rankings and kind of different levels of prestige. And so, you know, if you're going to reschedule it, do you bump another tournament, which is already set up and probably, you know, that seems likely, or do you schedule an all new one that maybe not as many people can get to? You know, I don't know the easiest answer there, and that's kind of one of the things that I think we should expect to hear from FFG. But I'm not expecting to hear about it today. You know, or maybe even as early as next week. I don't know if that's even too soon to hear something like that, because to schedule something like a World Championships has got to be a logistical nightmare, right? It's got to be a really, really big deal. And it's not something I think you can do all that easily or all that lightly or all that quickly, and you certainly don't want to rush it. And especially right now in a time of huge uncertainty. Like, there's a lot of uncertainty right now. So, like, you know, just about, you know, if, you know, travel's going to be allowed, if what else is going to have to close? They're going to close down the supermarkets, right? I don't think they're going to close down the supermarkets. Even in Italy, they still have supermarkets open. So, so you can kind of relax. And worst case scenario, you're staying home a lot more over the next couple of weeks, which is a great opportunity to do some cool things like painting. I just got a new airbrush. And I repainted my clone tank, and I still kept it with kind of similar color schemes, but I got a little bit of a fade effect going there, put like a piece of paper on there, and kind of got some lines on there, got some, it's like the Bad Batch tank right now with the black and red. So, yeah, so like it's a great opportunity to do some more painting for whatever games you play. Yeah. So I got a couple other things. So speaking of painting and coronavirus, so let's talk about Adepticon a little bit more. So yeah, staying home and painting is exactly the plan. Yeah, it's a cool thing to do. I am enjoying the painting. I actually have a painting video coming up soon. Let me show you guys. I'll give you a little sneak preview. I did some of my Phase 2 clones as, there we go. As with like the Ahsoka helmet and stuff. So not I didn't do them that great, but from a distance, I think from a distance, from tabletop distance, when you're looking down, they look all right. Up close, it's hard to get those specific fine lines on the helmets. But yeah, so look for that. I tried a different camera angle, and I tried to do, you know, it's not going to be Sarastro quality, but I do have a painting video coming up. And I also I'm going to give a shout out here to Shadow's Edge Miniatures. Shadow's Edge Miniatures did send over some tufts. If you look here on the bases of here, I got there was some different colored flowery tufts. They have quite a few different, decent little selection here. And they sent these over for me to check out, and I've been using some of them. Like they have they have some different colored ones too, which are really cool. So be sure to check out Shadow's Edge Miniatures. I wasn't even planning on giving them a hype or a shout out in this video, but since it just kind of naturally flowed into the video. So, but yeah, just Google them right now. Google Shadow's Edge Miniatures. I don't have a link I can throw up into the middle of a live stream, but I can go ahead and add it back in after the fact. But yeah, no, they're really cool. They're really nice, and they're reusable, so you can take them on and turn them off again. So you can like, oh, you know what? I don't want that on this one. If you you can change your mind a little bit. The little tack aspect of them kind of does peel off pretty easily. So that is pretty cool. I haven't done my B2s yet. So I'm set up behind here, and this is something else I want to talk about for Adepticon. So I've got some Magna racks behind me, right? I'm a big fan of Battle Foam and their Magna racks because I magnetize all of my minis. And I've done videos on these before, right? So I've got like clones right here. I can just take this whole tray out, and these are all magnetized, right? And they slide in, and they're just really, really convenient because I can just have a whole army built and pull them out. It's great for storage. It's great for all of that. Well, I've started to magnetize some more things. One of the things I've started to magnetize is Marvel Crisis Protocol. Marvel Crisis Protocol has much thinner bases though. So I had to go with 6mm by 1mm magnets. And so I was, I'm going somewhere and it leads to Adepticon. So I'm not drifting too much. So hear me out. I got an email from Battle Foam saying that I've always bought from Battle Foam because they're a little expensive. And this is not a sponsored video by Battle Foam at all. By the way, Battle Foam, if you're watching, if you do want to work out some kind of sponsorship deal, I do love your products, so I think we could probably do something there. I really do love your products. But yeah, so they have a sale that's going to be going on during the time of Adepticon, which is kind of cool. So I'm thinking of maybe ordering some more Magna racks because I would like to have some for Marvel Crisis Protocol. And I have a couple other things in mind. I will probably be doing another video on magnetization soon because I've got some surprises for you. I figured some cool little things out. Some people might like it, some people might not care. But yeah, so gosh, what else do we have behind here? Another reason is that some of these are like the space is too big, so I need to get some different pegs so that I can be more efficient with them. As we're getting more and more stuff come out for Legion, I need to use more and more of the room as efficiently as possible. And between all the big vehicles, like down here, they take up a lot of space. So I need to maximize the use of my space. I've got a bunch of empty space above this rack and in here that I can keep stacking them up because they're very modular. And so, the reason I talk about that is because just because Adepticon is canceled doesn't mean that all of the bling from Adepticon is going away, because some people are probably still going to have deals during that weekend to kind of lessen the blow, because that is one of the things that's cool about a convention is like that I look forward to is walking the exhibitor hall, seeing what kind of deals you can get, what kind of special. Hey, is there any convention exclusives? Is there any super sales? I like to buy stuff at Adepticon because now I don't have to pay shipping, right? Yeah. Reach out to Battle Foam, let them know if they want to set me up with a promo code or something like that, or do some kind of sponsorship. I'm definitely always. I don't have a whole lot of sponsors because I'm pretty selective on who we go with for sponsorships and stuff like that. But at the same time, I don't like to go ask people because it's like, hey man, you want to sponsor my channel? I'm like, I don't know. I'm not. It's hard for me to ask people that way. I don't have a whole lot of I don't like doing that, usually. Although I realize I just kind of did, but I'm saying it kind of like as just a general thing. I don't even know if they're watching, but yeah, if it's a product that I really like, then it's so much easier, like it's kind of the way it works. I would rather have a partnership or some type of sponsorship deal with a company that's got great stuff. Are you interested to test my Legion terrain? Maybe. I don't know. Email me, mailcrabbok@gmail.com, and we'll talk. I have turned down some terrain before because just, like, if it doesn't look like some, like, I've had some really, really great terrain get shipped to me, and so I feel like maybe I'm becoming something of a terrain snob. But still, I like terrain. You know, I do like yeah. All right. So anyway, let's see here. So somebody asked, how do I feel about Clone Wars Armada? Oh, I'm hyped. I'm hyped. There's gonna be a video coming out tomorrow, actually talking a little bit more about Clone Wars Armada. There's some really cool stuff coming. Yeah, and I'm gonna reference, there was an interview with Steve Horvath that Team Covenant did. By the way, really am grateful for guys like Team Covenant. They are definitely more on the business side of the house than I am, but they're doing great things, and so it's awesome, and they have the opportunity, they have the access that I certainly don't have. Somebody's just asked me, have you seen Team Covenant's interview? Yes, I have. Team Covenant has been somebody that I've kind of been subscribed to and checked them out for a long time, just because they were doing a part of what I do long before I was doing what I do. So they were kind of in some ways trailblazers for some of the early days of that when I started doing this channel. So I have a lot of respect for Team Covenant and what they're doing. But yes, and of course they have the access to sit down with all of whoever they want from FFG, right? And I'm like, I'm a little jealous sometimes. I don't because I'm very much more of a less production. I'm a lot more of just like a dude with a camera type channel. So while that works great for just talking to you guys, I don't usually get access to the big wigs and the really high quality interviews and stuff. So that's kind of the trade-off. But at the end of the day, I'm just a dude with a camera, right? So, but anyway, so let's talk a little bit more about Adepticon. So FFG also has the N1, right? The Adepticon exclusive N1 Starfighter for X-Wing. By the way, X-Wing McClunky when you roll all your green dice and they're all blanks, right? Oh, by the way, there's links to shirts down there as well. So if you wanna get a shirt, they're down there. This is one of them, right? The McClunky. I got a whole series of McClunky shirts. Remind me later to talk about McClunky because I think some people have no idea what the heck it is. So, and it's easy to miss if you didn't know. But I'm curious from FFG if they're going to keep the, because the convention exclusive N1 was also going to be an online limited time offer, so you'd be able to buy it online if you weren't at the con. Great move. A lot of other companies do that. It's a great move. Thank you, FFG, for taking customer feedback. That was one of my biggest things, is if they also made it online. Look, I love getting a convention exclusive, especially when I'm at that convention and can pick it up, and it's so cool, and it's like the Darth Vader and the Obi-Wan Kenobi right here. By the way, thanks, JJ. Thank you, JJ. Yeah, and then freaking this Vader right here. I freaking love this guy. I use him in my battle reports. I need to stop using him as much. I actually damaged him a little bit because I dropped him one time and his thumb chipped. I think it was mostly just the paint, but you look really, really close. You can see it and it bothers me. That was heartbreaking. But no, I love convention exclusives, and I wonder, are they still going to allow the N1s, put the N1 Starfighter up for sale online? I think so. I would think they might do that if we're following the battle foam. And that's why I brought up the battle foam and the Magnarax and all of that stuff, is because, hey, look, here's one precedent of a retailer saying, hey, we'll still do an Adepticon sale during that weekend. So all is not lost. So my question is, who else do you expect to maybe do some kind of Adepticon sale? It'll be harder with things that are convention exclusives if they weren't already planning to sell them online, because now you have to kind of set up a whole new avenue for that, and you're probably going to have extremely limited stock, especially if it goes online. So some companies may just say, you know what, we're just going to hold it and we'll have them available at the next con. But this was just, I mean, honestly, this was a big kind of gut punch to a lot of us who weren't expecting that this was going to be this bad. Or I mean, just go back like 2-3 weeks. Nobody would have, not, I wouldn't say nobody, but not many of us really expected it to become this serious. So what can you do in your day-to-day life, with this COVID-19 coronavirus thing going on? Well, I obviously staying isolated as much as possible, especially if you have any symptoms at all. If you've got a fever or anything like that, or if you're sneezing. Joking about sneezing, everybody can sneeze, but practice great hygiene. Look, there is a stereotype for gamers that gamers smell bad and don't practice good stereotype. Don't be the stereotype. If you are, use this as your opportunity to evolve beyond that. Shower every day, maybe twice a day if you need to. If you do a lot of, like, I shower at least once a day. A lot of times I shower twice a day. If I work out, at least twice a day. Once I think I took 3 showers in a day, but I definitely try to stay very clean. Wash your hands. All right, if you're not going to shower, wash your hands a lot. All the time. If you go to the bathroom, wash your hands. I don't care if you're some kind of dude and you're like, well, I don't pee on my hands. That's great. Don't pee on your hands. Good for you. Also, wash your hands. And I'm going to tell you why. Okay, this is, don't take my word for it. But here's the thing. A lot of people don't wash their hands enough anyway, right? I had arguments with people about this for years, because I was one of those I don't pee on my hands kind of people a long time ago. And I've evolved. And I caution all of you to evolve, especially now more than ever. But even if you don't pee on your hands, you've still opened a door. You've still opened lots of doors. You've been touching maybe computer keyboards, nesting grounds for germs. If nothing else, just use the bathroom as an opportunity to wash your hands, right? Even if your hands are relatively clean, maybe you did whatever you needed to do and managed not to touch anything that was unclean or whatever, right? That's great. But it's also a good opportunity to wash your hands, all right? Now, if you're in public, people are going to be looking at you. People are going to be looking, hey, that dude didn't wash his hands. You know what? There may be some public shaming that happens because stuff is so dire right now. Don't shame someone. Don't talk about somebody behind their back. Have the courage to tell them to their face, like, hey, please wash your hands, right? Be nice and be kind. Always be kind to people. Don't talk trash about somebody behind their back if they didn't wash their hands. Talk to them directly and say, we all need to wash our hands, right? Or if you're afraid they're going to knock you out or whatever, then maybe just pick your battles. But the point is, we all need to be washing our hands. Every time you go to the bathroom, and extra times during the day, before a meal. They say try not to touch your face. I'm letting my beard grow out a little bit. I'm always touching my face. I shouldn't as much, right? If I'm home, it's one thing. But if you're out and you're touching things in public, don't also touch your face. Try not to. That's much easier said than done. I've probably touched my face like 6 times this video so far. But dice, like gaming, right? Let's say you're going to do some gaming, because maybe that's one of the things that we'll do during Adepticon. Maybe that'll be a big, fun local gaming across the country. One of the things that I had started doing recently that I thought was a great, very, very fair way to approach dice is to use a communal dice pool. Both you and your opponent roll the exact same dice. This way, because sometimes there are dice that just are bad dice and good dice. The little air bubble isn't the same in every single die. So some dice are just crap and some dice are hot. So to eliminate that, you have everybody roll the same dice, right? Well, maybe this isn't the best time to do that, right? Maybe this is a good time to use the dice app on your phone. Also, wipe down your phones too with maybe some alcohol or something. Like, just wipe your phones down a little bit. We put those phones in our pockets. We fart on our phones sometimes. We hold our phones to our face. If you think about it, your phones are freaking filthy. Maybe if you've been out in public a lot, maybe this isn't the best week to go visit grandma. Call your loved ones. I think that's one thing that you should do. Now, we've gotten off topic a little bit about Adepticon, and I'm just talking about the COVID-19 right now, but be clean. You know what you might even want to do? Wash your dice. Try not to touch your opponent's game pieces on the board. All right. Wash your hands before you sit down. If you're sitting down to play a board game with some friends, wash your hands first. I know some people. Some people are have always been very, very clean. I played a board game one time with somebody when I was first getting into board games that pulled out baby wipes for everybody to wipe their hands before they touched his cards. And his cards were already sleeved on top of that. But, you know, some people are more protective of their stuff, and that was his prerogative. And, you know, like if more people were like that, and maybe viruses wouldn't spread so quickly. But, you know, they kind of do. So, yeah, that's basically my advice. Just try to be as clean as you can. Go above and beyond. No matter how clean you think you are, try to step it up a little bit more. I am washing my hands additional times during the day, even when I'm not going to the bathroom. If I'm walking past a sink, I will more often now just stop to wash my hands in general. Now, it's less of an issue for me at home. There's a little part of me that wonders, like, well, what if we just all got it now and got it out of our systems, then we'd have the antibodies, you know. But the other thing, the last part I want to stress is, even if you're relatively young and healthy and not really an at-risk person for coronavirus, you can still carry it. You can still be a carrier, and while it may not hit you that hard, you still carry it, right? And then maybe somebody else that you talk to is a carrier, and then they go home, and then grandma lives with them, and then they get sick. So you still can help the spread of this virus if you're not being super clean. So, you know, just please try to be as clean as you can and limit exposure to unnecessary gatherings. You know, if you're going to do game nights, try to keep them a little bit smaller, you know, and try not to just overtouch. And dude, instead of shaking everybody's hands, you know, fist bump is less, but it's still contact. So a lot of people are doing like this, right? And like, I like Wakanda Forever. So like we've been doing this today at work. We've been Wakanda Forevering each other. And so that's pretty cool. But those are just some general things. They might help. I hope they help. If you found it helpful, I hope you like it. If not, then so be it. All right, let's do a couple of questions, and then I will sign off here shortly. I wanted to talk about Adepticon being canceled, though. Don't get the Blue Shadow virus. Do you think FFG will release the Naboo Starfighter? That's one of the things I think we're waiting to find out. That is one of the things we're waiting to find out. They have UV light phone cleaners. That's a great idea. I actually have a UV light that I got from Green Stuff World for the hardening stuff. That was pretty cool. All right, here I'm touching my face again, right? Well, I'm at home. I'm gonna go wash my hands after this. But yes, all right, let's see. I am trying to check all the comments because I'm live streaming from my phone right now. That's why it looks a little weird. What are my predictions for Gen Con? Well, Gen Con actually put out an email today, or a social media post saying that they're kind of monitoring. They're not closing down at this time, which that's kind of like the first step towards we're going to close down, right? We're monitoring, like Adepticon, like literally the day before they announced they were shutting it down, they said, we're monitoring the situation very closely and we'll let you know, but we're not closing down just yet. We don't want to be premature. And then the very next day they closed down. So Adepticon's much farther out. Much farther out. August, right? Or end of July, August. This whole thing could be blown over by then. And this whole thing could be blown over, you know, in a couple months, or not. You know, I'm not trying to dismiss it because it is a really big deal. If Disney closed down, you know, if the mouse isn't going to take your money, then you know it's a big deal. So there's that. So it's a very, some people, there was a lot of mixed messages going out there, and a lot of people didn't, you know, a lot of people made jokes about it too. And honestly, it's okay to joke about it. I think sometimes we need to be able to laugh, while not being insensitive. Like, joke all you want about coronavirus, right? But at the same time, also take it seriously. Take it seriously. So somebody brings up a good point. It's, Corvus Games terrain. What's going on, Corvus Games? In Ireland, all the schools and colleges are closed until at least the start of April. That's a big deal. Like I'm hearing a lot more schools because it's already spring break time right here in the United States. So a lot of schools are like giving everybody like an extra week and stuff like that. It's like a good time to take time off because it fits naturally with everything else. So I get that. That makes sense to me. But somebody says that. All right, let me digital fiends. I know COVID-19 is highly contagious, but damn, it seems like we're planning for the apocalypse or something. But all these core closing facilities, so it's got to be serious. Yeah, I get that it seems like some people are going to say, oh boy, what are we planning for the... But some people might view this as an overreaction. Here's the problem. People with immune deficiencies and the elderly are highly at risk. That makes up a significant amount of the population. If we lost all of them, no, the planet with the human race would still go on. Like let's just say every person like over 60 got it and just suddenly died. That's huge, right? Now that's worst case scenario. But the thing is, even if you're not one of the at-risk people, you may still come down with flu, right? And for some of these people, I've seen reports that say the symptoms can be like 10 times. It can be way worse than a normal flu. Which isn't going to kill you. I've had the flu only once. It was miserable. For like 48 hours, I was done. Like the middle 24 hours of those 48 hours was like death. It was like I just laid in bed and I was like, I hate this. I hate my life. It was disgusting. It was just a miserable experience. So look, if that's the worst that's going to happen to me, I'm like, okay, well, that's not that bad. I mean, it's bad. Nobody wants that, but it's not that bad. But here's the thing that really gets me. What if it happens at the same time, right? Like, what if your whole state gets it at the same time or within like the same week? Think about what that means. Because I live in Florida, we worry about stuff like this all the time when there's a hurricane. Because here's the thing. Even though I'm in Orlando, I'm kind of far inward. Hurricanes don't usually do catastrophic damage to more inland places like Orlando. But what we worry about is everybody being home, not being able to get to work. Like a lot of things go down all at the same time. Well, okay, the next day the hurricane's over. Oh, wait, nobody can get to work because the trees are down everywhere, power's down. Oh, well, or the fuel trucks can't get in. People can't get to work. But I need bread and milk. I need to go up to the grocery store. But the grocery store's not open because nobody can get gas. All the employees can't get our society is so fragile. It's more fragile than we give it credit for. So, or that I think a lot of people don't really understand how, only a couple of days of not being able to get what you need can really hurt a lot of the delicate balance of our entire ecosystem for our civilization. So that's the fear for me. It's not just that, oh, I'm going to get a little sick, or maybe my wife gets sick. Maybe me and my wife both get sick at the same time. Now, who takes care of the kids, right? And that's one of the things like that. I guess that's like a microcosm of what I'm talking about. Let's say everybody gets sick at the same time. Let's say the whole fire department is sick exact same day, and there's a fire. If everybody's like incapacitated in the same day, like bad things can happen. So that's one of my things. That's why we need to limit our exposure, washing your hands, even if it just stops one single instance of spreading the disease. It could be that one firefighter who makes it to work that day that puts out the fire that would have spread to the entire block, right? That's my way of thinking it. So even small little bits make a big difference. All right, so I'm gonna do a couple more questions before I close out. All right. Wow, somebody on immunosuppressants. Yeah. No, you're definitely at risk, and I really hope you stay very safe and people around you stay safe, because sometimes it just takes one. Did you see there was one basketball player who was joking about coronavirus and went and like touched and licked like all the microphones? Maybe didn't lick, but touched all the microphones. Like, oh, and then he got diagnosed with it 24 hours later. And turns out now that's one of the reasons why like everybody in the NBA is like, crap, how many other people touched that and then interacted with somebody else? Like, you can make verbal jokes about it, but take it seriously. Don't do what that guy did. Don't be like, oh, this is, all right, so David asks a good question. What about Worlds in May and the events in May? I think it's still a little premature. I think we need to give it at least another 2 weeks before we figure out if those are going to be canceled too. Because there's also a big Armada tournament in May too that's going to be in the South in Atlanta. I'm hoping to go to that. But yeah, that was. I really don't know. Here's what I do know. Some of the parks like Disney and stuff like that, they closed stuff for 2 weeks. They've given like an end date. Because that's one of the things I worry about is when somebody says it closed until further notice. I'm like, well, you know, what's it going to be? Sometimes you need a driving force to open something up again. So if 2 weeks of like shutting everything down will be enough to kind of halt or severely slow the spread of this, so it's not, you know, it's not like it's not everywhere. And then on top of that, if we can get more testing and more, maybe we get a virus or some kind of treatment out there, or I mean a vaccine, then we should be in much better shape. So I'm not a scientist, I'm not a chemist, I'm not in the field of medicine or pharmaceuticals, so I don't know how long is a realistic timeline to get something like that out there. But the quicker that happens, the quicker life will, like, panic will go down and life will begin to go normal. Where did I get this awesome shirt? Well, that's a great question. Thank you, Corvus Games Terrain, for asking that awesome question. This is actually one of my shirts. From the links in the description below, there should be like a TeePublic spread of different shirts that you can scroll past. Also, there's a Teespring if you have a particular. I have them on 2 different stores. There's a Teespring link in the description below as well. I have t-shirt shops for both of those, and if any of you guys are interested in any of those shirts, I've got McClunky shirts for both Legion, Armada, and X-Wing. That's not both, that's 3. As well as a D20 McClunky when you roll a 1. For generic D20 based games, as well as a lot of other Legion, X-Wing, Armada shirts, and of course the Double Critical shirt for the new Double Critical podcast. So a lot of, and more shirts probably coming all the time. You never know. But yes, and those are great ways to support the channel if you're interested in that. Yeah, if you're forced to stay indoors, yeah, do some model painting. That's definitely a very good thing to do. The toilet paper thing is a little bit panic, yes. Toilet paper is great. I love toilet paper. It is, it's just such a strange thing for people to rush out and get. Like, in bulks. Like, we normally buy one big thing of toilet paper that lasts us for, a month or thereabouts, or maybe a little less, or 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, and just do that each time. I usually like to have like a week's worth of stuff, You usually pee in the shower. I don't use I don't use that much toilet paper that I think I need to hoard, multiple things of it. I don't know. Maybe if more people had bidets, we'd have less of a toilet paper crisis. I think I'm going to close it on that note. So I want to thank you all so much for hanging out. Thanks for all the questions. Thanks for all the views. If you're watching this after the fact, if you're watching this in the future, hopefully we've got this situation under control by now. But until then, keep your hands clean, game safe, game kind, always wash your hands. And even once coronavirus is gone, remember to game clean. Think about it like when you're at one of those conventions, or you go to Gen Con and you're like, oh man, I hope it's there. I can't see this Teespring link. I will, I'll double check and make sure it's there once this video is over. But all right, I will talk to you guys later. I want to thank you all so much for watching, and as always, have a great day. Bye.